you've got an idiot who thinks that there was some upside to slavery. Yo, this is a social media post that Donald Trump put out today. Oh, y'all gonna love this one. The museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future. We're not going to allow this to happen. And I have instructed my attorneys to go through the museums and start the exact same process that has been done with colleges and universities, where tremendous progress has been made. This country cannot be woke because woke is broke. We have the hottest country in the world, and we want people to talk about it, including in our museums. Interesting. Tydick, let me stick with this line right here. Where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was. Oh, I get. So is Donald Trump saying that there's a flip side to slavery, how amazing it was?
Yeah, he has to be very delusional, which is nothing new here. But I think what he fears is not history, but he fears the truth. And it's because when the truth is taught, it empowers a new generation of young people and folks to wake up and to demand justice, to fight for liberation. And I think that's why they ban books in our schools. That's why they attack D&I. That's why they try to control what's happening in the schools, because they understand if they can adjust the minds of this new generation of young voters who will fight for democracy and liberation. They know that if they can take the power away from young white folks to never confront their responsibilities, they feel they're growing somewhere. But history is not theirs to rewrite. Our museums and our classrooms and our community centers, they're special. And I think it's an important time such as this to continue to stand up and if they're going to try to dismantle our history, is more important for us to make sure that our history is taught to our young folks.
Well, Larry, you're a professor. Maybe this is the problem. Maybe Donald Trump has been spending too much time watching PragerU Kids videos where, according to this right-wing nutcase outfit, slavery was really no big deal.
At school that you spoiled paradise and you brought slavery and murder to peaceful people. Leo? Sorry. It's what I read and heard at school.
Caramba! Those are some accusations. The place I discovered was beautiful, but it wasn't exactly a paradise of civilization, and the native people were far from peaceful.
But you just said the Taino were peaceful.
They pretty much are. But there are other tribes who aren't. The Taino I had met had cuts and scars and bruises all over them. I asked why, and they told me about the Caribs, who are vicious, warring cannibals.
Cannibals? Like they
Eat people, see.
Whoa.
Right? Hey, all the things that are bad in the world I come from, jealousy, lying, murder, war, it all exists in the land I just found too. But in Europe, we draw the line at things like eating people and human sacrifice. Some of the native folks from where I just left do those things regularly. So, these people in your time who think it was a peaceful paradise are misinformed. Or lying.
Yeah, but what about slavery? You didn't deny that.
Deny? No. Slavery is as old as time and has taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? I don't see the problem.
Well, in our time, we view slavery as being evil and terrible.
Ah, magnifico. That's wonderful. I am glad humanity has reached such a time. But you said you're from 500 years in the future? How can you come here to the 15th century and judge me by your standards from the 21st century? For those in the future to look back and do this is, well, estúpido.
Are you calling me dumb?
Certainly not. I can tell you're a very smart young lady. But the idea of throwing away the past because of your present values is... Listen, I love and am thankful for the ancient Greeks, but they did lots of things that here in 1493 I do not agree with. They permitted lifestyles and worshiped gods that, as a Christian, I think is very bad. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't respect and honor all the incredible and amazing things they did.
So, good and bad is based on the time you live in?
That is a great question. I told you I knew you were smart. Some things are clearly bad, no matter when they happen. But for other things, before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal?
See, Larry, I want people to pay attention to this. So, PragerU, right-wingers, and this content is being used in Florida schools, Texas, and this is the content Republicans want to replace PBS with. So, this Christopher Columbus character, oh, he disagrees with all these other things because I'm a Christian. But you didn't disagree with slavery and how heinous that was. And you see what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, oh no, these things were not bad. You can't judge me according to those times. Well, there were actually people who were alive then who thought it was heinous as well. This is the kind of content that Republican billionaires are funding, and they want to infiltrate into every school nationwide. So when these right-wingers talk about, oh, the left, they're infiltrating our school, they're indoctrinating our kids, this is right-wing indoctrination.
You know, Roland, I remember a time when the Republicans didn't believe that the federal government shouldn't get involved in state or local affairs. But that time apparently is over once you get in power. The other thing is, I've been watching PragerU for a number of years and watched them grow from state to state, Florida, Oklahoma, etc. And now you see conversation at the federal level, like you talked about getting rid of PBS and use as some kind of replacement. And so we got to call this for what it is, and that is a whitewashing of the history as it relates to my ancestors and many of our panelists here, my enslaved African ancestors. And I'm not going to sit around and tolerate it. We can't pretend like Black folks weren't for centuries, even after past 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment were passed. Jim Crow, in terms of how Black folks will continue brutalized, rapes of Black women, murder, lynchings during Jim Crow. We can't act like that didn't happen, and I refuse to allow that to happen. And it's going to be really important for those who believe in, once again, in justice and talking about history and understanding what that means for the future. Make sure that we can't allow Prager and other these, disinformation platforms to gain popularity.
And Mustafa, for all the Simple Simons who were saying, man, y'all shilling for the Democrats, y'all got to accept this too. See, that's what's amazing. We tried to warn people. See, I'm wearing the shirt, FAFO. We got the new one, FAFO with Project Crossed Out 2025. We kept warning people. But see, you got a bunch of these loudmouth folks on YouTube and others who had all this smoke for Democrats, and this is the kind of crap that these right-wingers want in every school in the country. I keep telling people, they hated the fact that real history was being learned by white kids instead of his story, and they want his story returned.
Yeah, not only did we try and warn you, we were trying to protect you because many of us knew what was coming. So we did what we could, but unfortunately, there were a whole lot of folks who look like us. There were some folks who look like us who were doing everything that they could to also change the narrative of what really was going to play out. It's really interesting when I see those types of things because, they want to try and demonize indigenous brothers and sisters, whether they're in the islands or other places, but they don't want to tell the story about the dark ages in Europe and all of the very incredulous things that were happening in that space. They also don't want to talk about, Larry touched on it, the sex trafficking that was happening in relationship to slavery. Also the rapes that were happening as a part of slavery, the brutalization that was happening as a part of slavery, the 14-hour work days in the sun, not being paid and having very little to eat or drink, part of slavery. So they never want to tell the truth about it. And that's the reason they're trying to take over the educational systems. They're trying to whitewash history, which is nothing new. We've seen it time and time again. And then I also hear sometimes brothers and sisters saying, well, they can teach their children whatever they want to teach them. But you forget that same information is also being pumped into the minds of our children. our nieces and nephews and our sons and daughters. So we need to make sure that we are getting engaged in this process, because these are long-term effects. These are cumulative effects of the steps that these folks are doing. So I hope that folks are awake, and I hope that you are now willing to actually get engaged in solidarity to push back on this, and then to reverse, these very devilish things that these folks are doing.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.